For Aaron in the chat. We'll start with Audrey Dahlgren.
Hi, Aaron. Hope you're having a great day today. I wanted to ask you about your Uncle Herb and the relationship that you have with him. And first of all, the relationship that you have with your Uncle Herb.
It's like if I didn't have a dad at home, and that would be my other dad. It's like he put the ball in my hands, and our relationship is really special because like we relate so much and we compete with each other so much, you know, and he's taught me a lot about the game of basketball and about life. And that's something that I hope to strive and learn from, you know, not just from when I was a kid, but even now, you know, I still talk to him a whole bunch, and he passes on life lessons to me all the time that I could take with me throughout any part of my life. And I'm forever grateful for that relationship. And I love him to death. He's like one of the best people I know.
You guys, I read or heard somewhere that you guys played horse together, and he's a very active wheelchair basketball player.
For sure.
And so, what are those games like when you're playing horse with him?
They're competitive for sure. You can't miss any shots. He's going to make you pay for sure. I know that. And even, you know, just competing with him in his game and wheelchair basketball, and he's taken me to some of his practices, and I've been practicing with his team and just having to push that wheelchair for so long and being able to shoot with it as well, and then stop and turn and push again and go. It's harder than standing up and running and jumping. I can tell you that much, to say the least. And, you know, he's a huge competitive guy, and then somebody who doesn't have heart. You know, I don't want to say he questions you a little bit, but, you know, he's a guy that has a ticker for sure.
And then how has that maybe helped you in your game in terms of that, you know, maybe playing with him and watching him in his wheelchair basketball? I mean, how has that helped you in your game, or what have you learned about yourself that you've carried over into this year maybe, or in other years past?
I mean, it just brings things into perspective. You know, anything can happen at any time. You know, I try to play every game like it's my last, because anything can happen at any moment. And he never lets me forget that, you know, even with him beating me most of the times when I was a kid, to get that kind of leveling out now. You know, we're still, you know, in a relationship that he teaches me a lot, even when I win, or even when, you know, he beats the mess out of me. You know, it's always love in the end, and I could take that anywhere.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go out to Kyle Austin.
Hey, Aaron, just wondering what these last couple of weeks have been like for you guys. I mean, only the one game. I would imagine a lot of practice time, especially with finals. How have you guys kind of used these last couple of weeks to get ready for Big Ten play?
Just for us to realize that there's no off day we can take with Big Ten season. You know, everybody is as good as the Big Ten has been, for, as most people say. You know, I was too young to know what that was like a few years ago, I guess, or some years back. But just being able to compete in this time is it's a blessing for sure. And these past few weeks have been nothing but practice. You know, studying for finals, getting things finished up, and, you know, just working hard, man, and just trying to keep our heads down.
Next question, we go to Chris Solari.
Hey, Aaron, I wondered where you guys are at right now going into Big Ten play in terms of comfortability with Coach Izzo's rotation, and what do you see transpiring over the next couple games? Do you anticipate it staying as big as it is, or do you think it might shrink a little bit?
You know, Coach Izzo has a better understanding of that than me. I feel like, I mean, he's going to do anything to put the team in the best spot possible, and whatever happens. You know, whoever's playing the best will play, I feel like, and he's been doing a good job of that, I feel like. And I'm just, whoever's out there with me, or whoever I'm out there with, I'm ready to compete with them.
Next up, Matt Charbonneau.
Aaron, you've been through a couple Big Ten seasons now. When you hear people talk about Big Ten kind of basketball, what's it like playing in the Big Ten? What does that mean to you? What is it? How can you describe that style of what it's like playing in a Big Ten season?
I mean, I like to defend it, you know, just as much as I like to defend Indiana basketball. I mean, it's tough, no days off. I mean, every game's a war. You can't lose any games and try to have a big shot at winning the Big Ten, and every day has to be won. You know, the practices have to be won, the games have to be won. The bus rides have to be won. Just the preparation has to be won as a whole. And, anybody that plays a Big Ten team, I feel like will feel that, from another conference or within our conference. We understand how much it means to us for sure.
How much did it take you a while to get used to that and understand that? Or do you think you were kind of ready for it when you got here to understand that's what it takes to be successful in this conference?
I mean, I kind of got a feel from that, from where I came from, how important and how locked in you have to be from a preparation standpoint. Just the games I've played in or where I'm from in Indiana, I feel like, that can resemble a lot to the Big Ten. But, there's nothing like playing in an actual thing, and with the experience, you go from different arenas, playing with teammates like, Cash or X or playing at gyms like Assembly Hall or at Mackey, stuff like that. It's not like anything you've seen before as a freshman, so you can't compare it. But, when you get here, you kind of fit into your role and you kind of find your way.
It might even the playing field some, but are you kind of bummed that you're going to go to some of those places and there's not really going to be anybody there? You don't have everyone against you?
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it kind of want that atmosphere as a kid. You kind of want that growing up, but, you deal with what you got. So it's like, I just want to go there and get wins.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
Anything else for Aaron? Seeing nothing, Aaron, I'm just going to say thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
I think we have Foster Loyer up next. All right, we got Foster. We'll take questions for him in the chat. First one will go to Kyle Austin.
Hey, Foster, wondering how you think a team's mindset kind of has to change as you go from playing the non-conference games to moving into Big Ten play now.
Yeah, I think our team, we have to do a better job of, focusing on the little things, making sure, we take pride in the ball each and every possession. Turnovers has been a big thing that we've stressed in the previous weeks and then going forward. So I think that's something that we definitely got to work on and just making sure that we know that, with the Big Ten being as good as it is this year, games are going to come down to little things each and every game. And we got to be the team that does those things in order to win at the end.
Next question will go to Audrey Dahlgren.
Hey, Foster. Northwestern probably isn't going to hit 14 3-pointers every single night, but what is it about them, I guess, that you've been noticing from the film or just other games that might give them challenges against you guys come Sunday?
Yeah, I think they have a very versatile group. I think they have a lot of bigs that can shoot the ball and put the ball on the floor while also scoring inside. And then I think they have a lot of guards and wings that can shoot the ball as well. So I think a big thing for us is just, making sure we know our personnel, making sure we know our scouting report, and then going out there and executing that and just making sure we're ready to go.
How would you assess too where you guys are at when it comes to reading defenses at this point in the year?
I think we've seen just about every defense that they could put in front of us. We've played a lot of zone throughout the year. We've played a lot of man. We've played teams that get up and pressure. We've played teams that kind of sit back. So I think we got to continue doing a good job of recognizing the different defenses and then executing as far as getting into things quickly and doing what we want to do.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Matt Charbonneau.
Foster, I'll ask you the same thing I asked Aaron. Basically, it's, this is Big Ten and it's kind of a whole different world than non-conference play. How would you describe to people what it's like playing Big Ten conference games and how much better prepared are you to play in it now after you've been here a couple of years?
Yeah, the Big Ten, throughout, my previous 2 years here, and then especially going into this year, from top to bottom it's going to be a dogfight each and every night. Especially on the road, it's very hard to win on the road in the Big Ten. And I think this year presents a unique challenge that none of us really have experience with the fan situation. But I think it's important to realize that, uh, the first game is a little bit different, but just to know that, regardless of where someone's at, kind of in the Big Ten standings, it's going to be a fight, and you got to better come prepared to play each and every night.
Are you going to miss some of those environments without the fans? Even though as tough as it is, it's still kind of cool to be at some of these places where it's packed.
Yeah, I think even though an opposing crowd, as good as the Big Ten fans are, might be a difference maker in the games. I think that's something that we miss even when we are on the road. Just the excitement it brings, and just going into those hostile environments, and hopefully walking away with a win is always a good time.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Our next question is from Chris Solari.
Hey, Foster. You go into the season as three-time reigning defending Big Ten champion, but I think I've seen polls say usually around 3-4 in the conference. How are you guys using the past as motivation for the present? And does that matter at this point from a mojo standpoint to know that you guys have done that the last few years?
I think it matters because we're going to go out there and do our best each and every night, and hold ourselves to that standard of that's what we expect to do. That's what we work for each and every day at practice, is to go out there and hopefully hang another banner in that aspect. And I think it's important to play with that chip on your shoulder, to have that kind of target on your back, and to welcome that, and to know that we got to go out there and play our brand of basketball in order to continue to be successful.
All right, seeing nothing else for Foster in the chat, I'll dismiss you and you can go get ready for practice.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. We'll be joined by Coach Izzo shortly. Stephen, if you're going to be in witness protection, you should probably change your name on the grid there. Your audio wasn't working though either.
I fully expected to be encrypted audio and sound like muffled and filtered as well.
No.
What's that? What time did you wake up?
All right, at this point, we're joined by Coach Izzo. Coach, if you'd like to start us off with an opening statement.
Well, yeah, it's a little strange as we go into conference play. We've only had one game in which would almost be 2 weeks after having 6 games in a short period of time. But as we talked about all season, it's going to be adjustments. There's going to be differences. It's not going to be the norm. We tried to get the game this week. We just couldn't get a game. And because of that, we got a little rest that was during finals, and we got some practice time, and that's been good for us. But starting Big Ten play against Northwestern, we'll be right back to the grind. We got 5 games in 14 days, so things heat up quick, including the Christmas Day game against Wisconsin. In Northwestern, it's a talented young group. I mean, they had pretty good team last year with those freshmen. They were getting better as the year went on. They had one kid leave, and of course their point guard left, but they've got a couple kids back. The Bowie kid, who had a lot against us, is back. I thought they've done a good job. They've got a couple of transfers, but Nass and Young, Kopp, and Barron are all good players that have got a lot of experience. They've only played 4 games. They've had some interruptions too by maybe the other teams, not necessarily theirs. As I said, Bowie got 26 last year. That's 2 games worth. And Kopp leads the team at 16 per game right now. He can really shoot it at 6'7", and is one of the better, I think, shooters in the whole Big Ten. So they've got enough guys. They've got different guys. They're playing faster. They've got a transfer and a couple young kids in there that make them more athletic. And as we say, they run a lot of stuff. Chris is a good coach. So they had Pitt beat. They were up 18. They were up 5, I think, with a minute left. And then Pitt went down and killed Miami, who beat Purdue. What does it mean? Normal years, it would mean a lot. This year, I don't know, because I don't know who's sick, who's not sick. But I know this. It's a very well-coached team. They're better than they were last year, in my opinion. And it'll be our first conference game, so we're looking forward to it.
Our first question will go to Jack Ebling.
Sorry. Tom, what do you absolutely know about your team that you did not know 4 weeks ago?
Well, I think the chemistry and camaraderie of this team is so much better than I thought it would be at this point in time. And for all the negatives of COVID, that might be one of the positives, because I think we just banded together. I think we've seen, both Rocket Watts and Foster Loyer have really adjusted to some things and are playing better. I know that Josh Langford's as healthy as he's been in 3 years. And I think even though we don't look like it statistically right now, I think we still could be one of the better defensive teams I've had. Didn't know that at the time. And, been a little disappointed still with our turnovers. I thought we'd take care of the ball a little bit better. So there's a couple of pluses, a couple of minuses. But in general, if I put a cap on the whole thing, I'm trying to be excited about where I think we are and where I think we can go. And I'm keeping that kind of down because I'm not sure what some of the teams have been like that we played. So I think we've made big progress. I think we're playing better. I think teams are shooting better against us than I thought they would, especially from the three. And yet we played some very good guards. And so I don't know if that answers your question real well, Jack, but I know this. A month ago, I was not in practice. So since I've been back, it's been more of a joy for me, probably less of a joy for them.
Our next question will go to Chris Solari.
Hey, Tom, good to see you. I guess from a rotation standpoint, with going into Big Ten, you mentioned about the week off and trying to get that game. I mean, it seems like the last few games you've expanded a little with AJ getting in there. Where do you go now? Do you keep that going without having the reps from the non-conference, or do you try and shrink it, or do you have a target date even at this point you want to try and shrink?
No, I don't, Chris. I don't have a target date, and I think some of the players will determine all that. Like I said, there's not a lot of separation, as you know, from certain guys, and we think AJ would have been a guy we would have worked in earlier, but he had the 2.5 weeks out with the knee, and inside, I mean, I've had some meetings with Julius and Marcus and Thomas, and I'm keep hoping that one guy steps up a little bit more above the other, but you and I both know you can't play them equally as conference season comes in, but we might have to sacrifice a little early. And I think that's part of the turnover problem. I think that's part of the inconsistency at times, and maybe a lapse here or there because they're not as comfortable with each other yet. Even though the chemistry is good, you got to be comfortable on the court. But I still think in the long run, it's going to benefit us. And that's the way I'm looking at it. So I'm going to let the players determine some of it. I'm going to have to do a good job with my staff and trying to separate them. But right now, there's a lot of people that would like to have 11 players that they're playing, or 10. And I'm going to try to enjoy that a little bit. And even though it's a headache in some ways, it's nobody's really dropped down too much and nobody's really stepped up too much as far as those 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th guys, or 8th, 9th, 10th, 11 guys.
Next, we'll go to Lindsay Huddleston.
Thank you. Hey, Tom, at the beginning of your remarks, you talked about that although this is the start of Big Ten play, it still seems so different. I'm just curious, over the last week or so, what principles have you been coming back to that kind of helped you find some normalcy, or just kind of help you stay steady with all the uncertainty going on?
Well, you get to watch games on TV. You see that there's conference games started in different conferences. That's brought a little normalcy to everything. And today we celebrated. I'm going to have to tell our profs at Michigan State it should be illegal to give a final on the last day of the semester. Give them Wednesday and Thursday. But we had 2 guys that took their last one this morning, and so it's been a strange week. And that as I reflect back, it's been a strange week because we'd hope to have a game. You never have a game during finals, but the situation's different. We couldn't have a game. Then you had finals, and so we practiced a few different times, but it wasn't interrupted too bad. We were able to find a couple pockets, and now we're just heading forward. We'll have a good practice here this afternoon, hopefully a good one tomorrow, and then play the game on Sunday.
All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we'll go to Kyle Austin.
Hey, Tom, wondering what you've made of the Big Ten as a whole from what you've seen and maybe how it's similar or different than the last couple of years.
I guess for the last couple of years, I keep saying it's deeper, but I really think this year it is. I think there's more power. I mean, I get amazed how some conferences, I still think sometimes we don't get the respect we deserve. A team loses a game or something, they drop 10 spots. And other teams, it doesn't happen that way. I still think we've got 4 top 10 teams. I think we've got 5 more top 20 teams. And then I saw where we had a couple teams. I mean, we're 10, 11 deep as far as the top 35. And I'm not sure that's ever been that way. But there's a lot more experienced teams too. You look at an Iowa, you look at a Wisconsin, you even look at Illinois. They're very, very experienced and have 7, 8 of their top 9 or 10 back, and all well coached. So I think teams have tested themselves. Illinois lost a tough game or two, but Iowa's playing awfully well. I think they play Gonzaga this weekend. Wisconsin lost a tough game at Marquette at the buzzer, and other than that, they've been playing real well. And so we'll see. I think the sleeper team in this group right now might be Rutgers. I always thought they'd be good, but when they lost Remy or whatever, I can't pronounce his name right now, but when they lost the kid to Oregon, that was a big loss. And boy, they've just Harper's been unbelievable. And Geo Baker just starting to play. I think they're maybe as good a team. I'm not sure they're not a top 10 team. So Lee's going to be very good.
Next question will come from Matt Charbonneau.
I know we've talked a lot about the center position and figuring that rotation out. Are you happy right now with where some of your wings are, like with Josh and Gabe and those guys? Are you happy with that rotation right now? And 5 games in, is Josh kind of right about where you expected? And can you see him even taking a bigger leap now that he's kind of, got these 5 games in? And
yeah, I think Josh is going to take a much, much bigger leap. I really do. I'm pretty happy with the rotation. Foster has played pretty well. We got to get AJ in there a little bit because he can play a lot of different positions. But we're not going to manage Josh's minutes, but we're going to make sure that, we get some consistency now. Aaron shouldn't play 12-minute stretches. That'll be the next part of this that we have to do. Josh misses a game and change some things up. But I'd like to get now where there's some consistency as far as how we're rotating. And I think that will happen. And when it does, I think we'll be a better team. But I also think in Josh's case and in Joey Hauser, they're going to get better. There's no question. Josh has probably had the best week of practice. He looks more athletic to me. Joey's starting to shoot the ball real well again. And I think those 2 guys will determine a lot. Rockets, he's really playing well. I mean, he's really distributing the ball well. And I just love how he's been, and just in watching film, school's done, that's a load for some of these guys. And so I think we're going to get better, but I think on the perimeter, the rotation's pretty good. It's now just getting it down to where they're not playing 10-minute stretches. We haven't had much foul trouble. That's been good other than Joey. And hopefully that'll continue.
Our next question will go to Brendan Quinn.
We'll keep it going on the rotation. With Julius, it did seem like coming out of Duke and coming out of Detroit Mercy that he was kind of on a trajectory of maybe broadening his role, and last couple games was actually dialed back. I just kind of wonder where he's at in terms of maybe taking on a larger spot in the 5 position.
Well, as we always do, we're trying to give Marcus and Thomas, experienced guys some. But I told Julius in the last game, I walked down to the bench. with 7 minutes left, and I was going to put him back in. And I said, listen, it's okay with you. I'm going to try to get Marty some minutes because we need to do that. And I actually apologized to him because he had been the one guy that started to separate himself. But Julius is a rock. I mean, he's a very intelligent kid. He probably is one of my most improved players. If you look at his shooting, his ball handling, his defense, and I think he's going to be very valuable. So it wasn't any other reason than the coach was looking at, you know, what I could do, and I knew he would understand. I knew he was in a good place. But yeah, Julius Minutes is one guy that I think is going to start going up a lot, and deservingly so, because he has taken some steps. And you know, the only reason I didn't, especially in the last game, was trying to get, you know, maybe some minutes for Marty, because I think Marty we're going to need, and yet harder to do that as Big Ten play starts, at least at the beginning.
And when you look at the five in terms of if you do want to make it more defined in terms of individuals, do you prefer production in terms of, you know, things we see on stat sheets, you know, points, rebounds, whatever, or, you know, consistency of being in the right place, being in position, kind of doing more grinding stuff, because you do have so much production at other places, from Aaron to Rocket?
Yeah, and that's one of the things with Aaron and Josh and Rock and Joey. That's where Thomas Kithier has been so valuable, because he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't need the ball all the time. He sets great screens. But I think Julius can do some of that too. You know, the X factor right now is, you know, we need to get Marcus going. And as I said, you know, between not gaining the weight in the summer, there's been some issues. But at the same time, I still think he can really help us. And you know, we've played a lot of smaller teams, as you know. I mean, even Duke was probably as small as they've been. And that's not conducive for the number of bigs either. So I think there were times we played Malik more as a 4 or 5. And I think we'll be able to get into a little better rotation, as, you know, like Northwestern, for example, has got a lot of big guys. And I think that'll be better for some of my bigs.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
Our next question will go to Audrey Dahlgren.
Hey, Tom, I like your vest. It's sharp.
Thanks.
With Northwestern, they're not going to shoot, or might not make 14 threes every single night. But you mentioned the troubles that you guys have had this year, kind of defending the three. So how do you view this game, I guess, when it comes to them and what they're able to do in that aspect?
Well, we're worried about Bowie last year, because he really 26 points and he had a lot of threes. But the Barron kid and Nance can shoot threes at 6'10", and they've got a couple other guys that are shooting the ball very well right now. And you know, they haven't played the toughest of competition, so you don't know if some is that. But the one thing about 3-point shooting, as you mentioned, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. You still got to make the shot. And to make 14 in the game, you know, we had Oakland make 18. Those are concerns for us. We thought the Oakland game, a lot of them were more contested than maybe the game against Notre Dame or something like that. We've run into 3 or 4 really good guards that can get shots up. And you know, probably should have made some adjustments, maybe with how we cover some of those ball screens. It's not always fair to the guard, but I think we've had some time, Audrey, to work on that this week. I think you'll see us do a better job, but this team at times can put 5 guys on the floor that can make threes. And that's going to be important, that we do a better job.
And then one quick question about Aaron Henry, and if the conversations or what you know about his Uncle Herb, and how you feel as though maybe him playing wheelchair basketball with him, or how does that relationship work? And just what do you think that Aaron has learned as a player from his Uncle Herb and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, like how fast things can be taken away, you know, too, because Herb went through some tough things. But him and Aaron have been very close, and he's a guy that, man, I remember when he was in high school, even he came up from Louisville at the time for games, and I think they have a very close and good relationship, and he loves the game. It's just a shame that he's in a wheelchair, but I think you can still learn from him, and I still think they're very close. And it's not something I talk to Aaron about all the time, but I know that his uncle is very important in his life, and I think he's very important in the basketball part of his life. And so what can Aaron learn? Whenever I see someone who's gone through some tough times, I always say, appreciate how lucky you are and do everything you can do to make sure you take care of yourself in the best way you can take care of yourself. That's a lesson in itself.
Thank you.
All right, we have time for 2 final questions before Coach has to get to practice. We'll start with Jack Ebling and wrap up with Larry Lage. Jack?
Tom, as much as you love football, are you going to be more interested in Ohio State Northwestern, Big Ten championship game, or Gonzaga, Iowa tomorrow at noon? And Brian Kelly just said he thinks that Notre Dame might boycott the college football playoff if they have to go to Pasadena and parents can't be there. Could you ever imagine something like that in an NCAA tournament?
No, I can't, but I don't know why Brian would say something like that. I don't know what he said in what context and how it was taken, but it's not like Michigan State or our city, our basketball program, or Notre Dame or theirs. We're in some tough times. I was on a big call yesterday. What do you do at Christmas? We know some of these football programs have had parents up at Thanksgiving and that created some problems. This is no fun for anybody. I would look at it like this, me personally, and again, I haven't talked to Brian, and I don't know in the context, because I don't trust you guys all the time, no insult intended. But I would always rather play. I don't think I can hold a school hostage, a program hostage, a team hostage. I think the best thing for my guys is to get to play. And I don't think we're in a position, any of us, to say we won't play if the parents can't come. I'd love to have the parents here. Seems a little crazy to me at times when you have a 80,000 seat arena, but those are rules far beyond me, far beyond our school and our program. And God, I hope they get to go to the Rose Bowl. I hope my second semester, my parents get to be here, but that doesn't register to me real well, because it's not like somebody's doing it on purpose. Everything that's trying to be done is in the best safety and interest of the players first, families second, hopefully our damn country. And that's the way I look at it. But I really, again, hard to comment, Jack, on something that I haven't seen or I haven't talked to them, because I think sometimes we have a tendency in the media, I know you guys wouldn't do this, but where you take one little part. And so I wouldn't boycott the NCAA tournament if the parents could be there. I do everything in my power to try to hope and pray and work so the parents could be there. But I don't know. You caught me off guard.
Our last question will go out to Larry Lage.
I'll try to give you a layup, Tom.
Okay.
Have you had any kind of simulated games or, extra long scrimmages to make up for the lack of games lately?
No, and that could hurt us. But 2 reasons. We had to give them a couple of days off because of finals. And then we decided that let's work on some of the things that we think we haven't been as good at. Some things in ball screen defense, some with our zone offense, some things with our regular offense. And then we picked apart, what do we think we're not doing well? Like one thing, we're rebounding pretty well stat-wise, but we're not getting any rebounds on the rim. They're all on the floor. Hell, you can get them on the floor. I need guys jumping over you, get them on the rim. So we looked at some things. We've had each assistant. We marked down some things. What do we got to get better at? And we've tried to still make the practices lively and a little bit fun. It's a grind, you got the pandemic and you got finals. None of us have been through both. And all of us probably have been through finals. You know, I think looking at this illustrious group, I think all of you went through finals at one time or another. And because of that, that's work in itself. And then when you throw in the pandemic, so we're just trying to always keep our players right now in the right frame of mind, which I think we are. Today will be a little more grinding. We're going to get after it, get up and down a little more because we're done. Tomorrow you can't do that day before a game. So I do worry about that a little bit. It's a good question because, you know, we thought about bringing officials in and trying to do something. That's a little harder now than it used to be. You almost got to project out of 4 or 5 days. We thought we might be playing a game Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So it's just another confusing part of this for those guys. Hopefully it doesn't hurt us on Sunday, but we think we did what we think was best for our team, and that's what we're trying to do.
And don't sleep on my hops.
On who?
Don't sleep on my hops on rebounding.
Larry, I seen your hops. I'm not only sleeping, I'm snoring while I'm sleeping, and I don't snore. So, but I'll try to remember that, and I'm sure I'll talk to you guys again now because we'll have a couple different. But stay safe, and thanks for the interest. Hopefully, we'll try to get together soon. You know, if somehow maybe we'll have something through the windows or something, so at least you can come. But we'll try to keep doing something. I hope the players has been good, and I said we're always open for some suggestions, especially now school's out. If that we can make it more access to make it better for you, that'll be my Christmas present to you. Take care.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Have a good day, everybody.